listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
Well, I get to start off this one because Lisa doesn't get to bring the news to the podcast this week. It's me. So yeah, this is gonna be our last. It did start early, but see, I'm not suppressing it. So content warning for anyone who is upset by mention of cancer and medical trauma. My cancer's back, and instead of tasking AG and Lisa with like a ton of fill-in hosts, we're going to take a break from the podcast. And because I have to start chemo as soon as possible. And basically, like I'm not going to record through chemo. Sorry, guys.
Wow, you said you were there
That's
for
disappointing.
us. Wow.
I'm really playing the cancer card this time.
Well, because, I would have been right there with the microphone.
I was in chemo. Like, you both would have just shown up.
come.
Would have
Yeah.
I mean, you're
really
just sitting
invasive.
there, right? Like, come on.
Really, exactly. I could be sitting there for hours. We don't know. Anyway, yeah. So I don't have a lot of information yet. I'm still finding some stuff out. I only found out on Monday, February 3rd, which I'd like to note was one day before World Cancer Day. So I continued to excel at ironic. Last time I had found out, anyway, it's fine. All of it is dumb and I hate it. But if you've been listening to the podcast and you've been hearing about sort of my difficult colonoscopy stuff, it is not related, but it's not unrelated because likely a lot of the pain that I was having in follow-up is related to the cancer in my omentum. And if you're asking, hey, what's an omentum? I did too. It is the layer of fat between your organs and your skin. So when I had my surgery last year and they did the hysterectomy, they did cut out a piece of that as well as a few other things that are like places ovarian cancer can spread. And they tested it. It was fine last year. Now it is not. So, like I don't know precisely what it means yet, but I do know that my blood work is very positive for cancer. And I will find out more information by the time this episode comes out. But because we decided, I had already watched your Cordially Invited, so I wasn't going to waste that. I had to record an episode.
There had to be some use for those 2 hours.
And what a way to go out.
Honestly,
a hiatus.
A brilliant way to start a hiatus by talking about this movie, which, I'm not going to lie, I somehow liked better than Lee last week's episode. So
Come on.
Shades of Emily in Paris here. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's not good news. It's terrible. I hate it. And it has been, I found out like from when we're recording this, I found out like a week ago, and it's been a really rough week. But I've had lots of people and lots of family and love and support, and I have a very nice community. And as I tell more people directly, which I will do before the podcast comes out in case they listen, I'm very, very grateful for everyone who's reached out already. And, I did it last year and I learned things, which is good. I love to learn things. And so I have some like good coping mechanisms for this time already. And additionally, I also have like some excellent, boundaries that I put in place for round 2. Because I was like, we're going to do it a little differently this time.
Can you talk about any of the boundaries you put in?
I just like, just like how I'm being communicated with from some folks and like just trusting me to like update, it's all everyone is like coming at it from a place of love and stuff. Like it's not, but it just like, I am the kind of person who, I don't necessarily want to be bombarded multiple times a day with requests for for updates, and because I don't want to, like, I'm still a person. I don't want to just be like just a Cancer person. So I just like I want to still have a full-fledged identity. So that's like sort of where I'm coming at it from. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want. I've also seen like something that I've watched over the years and noticed more and more is that the person who's sick becomes the person comforting the other person, and that dynamic. When you don't know about it, it seems like it's normal. But then you start thinking about how cruel that is. And I would never, ever hope to see you in that position where you're having to apologize or say things to people like, I'm sorry I didn't get in touch with you sooner. I'm sorry I didn't update you sooner. How are you? You know, like.
I mean, certainly last time there were some people that I heard through the grapevine that were like, upset that I hadn't told them directly, that I had like someone else like had told them, or they found out in a different space. I just immediately am like, okay, that's a them problem. That's not a me problem. But like, obviously there are some situations this week that have definitely already been like me trying to manage other people's experiences of my cancer. And I have some grace for that, of course, because it's difficult information to hear if you love someone, but I don't have an infinite capacity for that.
No.
And like, that's why I'm sort of like, I give it like a set little bit of time and space and energy. And then I'm like, okay, I can't do that big management of feelings anymore. Like, which isn't to say I'm not open to like discussing it periodically, of course, but like, it just needs to be in a different way where I'm not taking care of you.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so
glad to hear you talking about all of this, because I know that, you know, sometimes when you don't know how to talk to a person or what they want to hear or like how to approach somebody, and to hear you say that like you're still a full person and want to be treated like a full person, like I think that is so important, because you kind of like in the wave of emotion and all of that stuff, you don't think about that. And you're just worried about like, you know, like what can I do?
Yeah.
How do they need help and that kind of thing? And you kind of need to take a step back and just be like, there's still this person that has a full personality. I should still be like, you know, sending them funny things and, you know, talking about TV shows and stuff like that. Like it's not all about their illness.
I was glad to hear that, because I did send a Shakira joke. So I was.
Well, I mean.
Which I found out was appreciated. So that was good.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm watching a lot of television right now. I got to say, I don't have a lot of brain capacity for other things, but I mean, that's the thing. Like, I want people to show up. I'm really grateful for people who show up. I'm so appreciative of like, you know, I know from last time, that's the thing. Like, I know from last time I have a community that loves me and that I can rely on, and that, you know, because I'm kind of, I don't know. I think in the past I've been a little independent, and people are always sort of generally asking me like, oh, what do you need? And I'm like, I'm good. I don't need anything, you know? And like, that might be true. But like, I still love it when people say, hey, can I come by? And like, and then they show up with like a little treat or something. Like, I still love all that stuff. But I just want to have like, you know, I want to have still just like a lot of like, this isn't normal, but it does become part of my normal very quickly. Like, my body already sort of knew what was going on. And I suspected several weeks ago, and, you know, I've already got plans to agitate for some major changes in BC Cancer follow-up protocols, by the way. So I'm glad that I have a plan
good for you.
as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes.
I gotta channel some of my frustration into action.
Well, you are also going to do something about their waiting room playlists. I should remind you.
Oh, don't worry. I realized I've written a little email to like notify other folks that I didn't tell directly, and I make mention of that in my little email, because I was like, you know, I last time didn't end up going to spend a lot of time in the BC Cancer waiting room, and so I never got to fulfill my promise of this waiting room playlist. And then the world had other plans for me, so now I'm getting a chance. So
Excellent. Good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be curious to find out how that works. Like, is it?
Oh, it has gotten...
Is it the sort of staff that chooses like a playlist to play, or is it like a hospital fed playlist?
So I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and I will try to report back. I can safely say that it continues to be atrocious because I have another friend who listens to the podcast. She is going through chemo right now, and she's been sending me like snapshots of the playlist, and it just wild, just absolutely wild. And I have another friend who actually works there, and she brought up the playlist in a meeting and told them, and nothing has changed. So I know that someone somehow knows. But anyway, I look forward to exploring this part.
Two
Like,
words.
This is
Two
a good
words.
distraction.
Light jazz. That's all anyone needs. It's what you hear when you're on hold.
Do you think people would just like elevator music?
I
Sorry
said
to
jazz.
People.
Jazz.
I know.
Not
I know.
music. Light jazz and the important part to me is that it doesn't play any identifiable songs. It's just a nice, soothing, spiritual sort of thing.
Well, because music is such a personal thing, I'm sure that there are people who are there who like it. There's probably also a ton of people there who like don't bring headphones at all and are just like, oh, thank God I can sing along to this like Billy Joel song or whatever. Like I understand that there's like multiple listeners. I just do believe that like your first experience in this space that is going to come to represent something like extremely life-changing should not begin with Michael Bolton.
No.
You know what? You just wrote the first line of your presentation to the hospital staff.
Absolutely. I guess I got a lot of changes I'm going to present to BC Cancer. I'm sure they'll be thrilled that they've got me as a patient.
Well, that's the only way anything changes. I mean, every time I like a lot of times, especially in sort of suburban rural areas, you drive around and you hit an intersection with lights and stop signs. It's because people died there.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just how, unfortunately, we all work.
Yep.
So you're going through something and you're going to make the proper changes.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the waiting room music is maybe going to be second on my list. The first change will be
priorities, I guess.
The first change will be like improving some of the follow-up screening measures. But, I love having a list of action items. So that's fine.
Yes, you do. Wow,
I do.
I know that.
I do.
Yeah.
I will say, like, this is not the cleanest segue in the world, but I feel like the main thing missing from the movie that we're going to talk about is a list of action items. Like, they had it, and then they just threw it up in the air, and everything landed in a slightly different spot. And they never found all the pieces.
Are you talking about the characters or the people making the movie?
Both of it.
Yeah.
Both of it.
Okay.
There is like something so sincerely disjointed, missing, and yet they had the components that could have made something so much better.
Kind of like the romantic pairing of Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon.
What a wildly
I kept holding out
unromantic
hope.
pairing.
I kept holding out hope till the very end of the movie when they crushed me that they would not be a romantic pairing, that it was just a competitive thing.
Okay, hear me out. I'm just going to say that maybe, getting ahead of ourselves here, but this might be a movie about people just, sort of settling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm lonely and I have
middle
right. I'm lonely and I've got
the
some
romance.
Yeah.
As it is in this movie. That is the extent of the romance.
I'm lonely and I have very, very terrible boundaries with and codependent relationships with family members.
Yeah.
I need to ease out. I see you as also a lonely person with codependent problems. I'm going to be good with you phoning me 40 times a day. You're going to be good with me phoning 40 times a day. I see love in and I mean, I'm not upset about that.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I'm also okay with the fact that, like, oh, like, you're kind to my family? Okay, I guess we're getting married. Because those people are going to be on top of each other, no matter the fact that they live on opposite coasts.
And when I come home and you're on the phone for 2 hours with your family member, I'm going to understand that.
Yeah.
I am uniquely going to understand and support.
I was just clinging on to those last embers of hope that I was like, how refreshing. They're not going to get paired up at the end in this movie. It's not like some forced weird romance that they're going to like shoehorn in at the very last 5 minutes of the movie.
I'm so sorry.
And
dude.
then they just like
What did you
stepped
think?
on me.
What did you think you were watching? Did it feel like some
I
kind of
thought it was all about the
Oscar-winning
the two
French
couples.
film that?
I thought it was the two wedding couples were the romance.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, I do think that there was a movie here where they don't get together at the end, and that would have been a cool rom-com kind of anti-rom-com, but like I don't think that's what rom-com people want.
No.
If we think about the way Marissa talked to us about like what you're promised in a rom-com, it's that people get together at the end.
But I mean, it's such a weird pairing that I was like, no, they can't. No, they're not a romantic pairing in here.
If they
It's
had,
not-
They're just two co-lead stars. They're not a romantic pairing. No way. That's what I thought going into it.
I felt an ease. I felt like, okay, I get this movie. This is not ideal for anyone. This is a terrible situation. This entire movie is a terrible situation for everybody. And by the end, the fact that the two of them got together was just the only icing on the cake of a really,
Yeah,
really
there you
bleak experience. So
okay, well,
Oh wow, are you serious?
this is fascinating. This is, you know what? I love this. I love this. All three of us have very different sort of experiences of this film, and yet I think there is something shared in our journeys. We should probably start the podcast. I'm Andrea Warner,
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
and you're listening to Pop This. And yeah, I mean, I think
And you're always cordially invited. And-
yeah,
I mean-
always cordially invited.
I guess the first question that come to people's minds is like, why did we do this movie? And it's because we're Reese Witherspoon completists.
we sure are.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. This is not the worst Reese Witherspoon movie I've ever seen.
What is?
I really hated that one that we did last year, where that guy whose face is kind of unmemorable.
Paul Rudd and Owen Wilson. That one.
I was thinking of the one that was. I think it was Josh Lucas, and people love it. But I
Sweet Home
hated it.
Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah, I didn't know.
What?
I
No, I
liked
don't-
this
I
better.
disagree.
I feel like that's one of her best rom-coms.
Yeah,
I'm so
I
sorry.
think so too.
Yeah, no,
I'm
I think
sorry.
I preferred this.
I mean, she's
Wow. Okay.
yeah, like wow.
I know.
That's no, you're wrong. Sweet Home Alabama is her best rom-com. Period. She may have like other amazing performances like Legally Blonde but like in terms of rom-coms, I can't think of a better rom-com she's done.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, the one I really hated, I'm looking up, I thought Four Christmases was really terrible.
Oh, Four
Sorry.
Christmas was terrible.
Oh, you know what's funny? I was at over the holidays, I went to this thrift store in Ladner just to check out some of their stuff. And they had a special section dedicated to Christmas. They have this every year. And it's got like all these Christmas items, and they've got like a shelf of like DVDs and VHSs of Christmas movies.
Oh, yeah.
Of which they had like 20.
Ooh.
Of which no less than 5 of them were versions of Four Christmases.
No, I completely think that makes sense to me.
Okay, but I gotta say, the worst one I've ever seen is from 2010. How do you know? James Brooks, Paul Rudd, Owen Wilson, Jack Nicholson. I don't know, like right from the beginning, the premise is that she's being cut from the USA softball team. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
Do you see Reese Witherspoon as a,
athlete?
well, as a, not just an athlete, but an award-winning, also very out to win, like very competitive softball player?
No.
Well, Somebody did, and they made a movie about it, and I watched it.
But
I've never seen that, so are we gonna have to do that?
Probably. I think we should do every single one of her movies.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
okay,
think we
wow, all right.
She's an icon in the Pop This universe.
Yeah, you're right.
No, you're right. You're right.
I've also I never saw Your Place or Mine, which apparently is from 2023. Ew, it's Ashton Kutcher. Disgusting.
I saw that one. Yeah, we both saw, didn't we? Or is it just me? I watched that. That was on Netflix.
That was
Sorry.
yeah, I did not. Sorry.
You know what? It's so sad is I watched it and I didn't even have to. But that's
But yeah, I've never seen Home Again either.
probably
and,
have. Yeah.
She's done so many different types of movies. Like, go and have a look at her discography. Like, her career has spanned so many different genres. She's tried a little bit of everything.
She's Academy Award winning.
I won an Academy Award.
Yes.
Yeah, she's had period drama.
She's in an Adam Agoyan film called Devil's Knot.
Oh, okay, there we
It's
are.
about the West Memphis 3.
Oh, I've seen. Yes, I saw that because I'm very interested in the West Memphis 3. So.
Yeah, of course.
But she's also, become a producer on a lot of successful movies. So
yeah, she's a producer on Gone Girl. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. That's cool.
And also the book club, of which we know about. And
yeah.
And then,
she
of course,
executive produced Daisy Jones and the Six, one of Lisa's favorites.
Thank you very much. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get why we did it. And I stand by it. This is not the worst Reese rom-com.
I'm going to agree with you on that one. Because again, I've seen the other one. So,
do we want to read the backgrounds? It's like beautifully short.
I will
beautifully short.
just start by saying, I researched this for everybody, and there is very little conversation going on about this movie.
Yeah,
that's not really a surprise.
Not a lot to sort of grab onto.
Yeah.
When trying to write something for this.
Yeah, it didn't land with a splash. It landed with a bit of a yawn.
Well, January has been so far an unbelievably horrible, chaotic month.
Yes.
And I almost was going to say it's still on, but I know it has switched to February now. It just feels so. I think releasing this movie at that time was genius.
But it's also, it's a time where they release their disappointing movies that they just want to fly under the radar and go away.
And when everything's so bad, you're like,
Well, and they did a bit of press for it, her and Will, and that got good mention in the press cycles, but not a ton of press because obviously horrific things are happening globally. Yeah. And so I think this is the kind of, and it came out on January 30th. So this to me seems like the kind of movie that people are probably going to push more around Valentine's Day, which obviously this episode comes out a couple days before Valentine's Day. I know that because it's and it's going to get another push in June because of wedding season. So it's going to have it's going to low hanging fruit audiences are going to find it. And unfortunately I'm part of that low hanging fruit audience.
Well, you are right
Aren't
now.
We all?
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, sometimes, I'm sorry to say this, but I've tried to watch the second season of Severance, and I really enjoyed the first season 3 years ago, but I'm sorry, I'm not here anymore.
You're in a different place.
It's too long between seasons. I've completely forgotten what happened.
Yeah.
And the tone is too depressing.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Day and age.
I can't.
It's too depressing.
I can't do it. It's like the way I felt about Veep. When Veep came out, I was laughing all the time because politics were different. And then when the politics started resembling what was in Veep, it became less funny.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And now seeing people trapped in a windowless cubicles and unable to escape just makes you want to rock back and forth with your head in your hands.
Right? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that said, let's read this background and then let's read the synopsis. AG, do you want to do the background?
Sure. You're Cordially Invited is a 2025 American romantic comedy written and directed by Nicholas Stoller for Amazon MGM Studios. It stars Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon. The film was released on Amazon Prime on January 30th. And that's all.
That's
in terms of background and details, that's all we got.
Can I laugh though? Because yes, you're right. The background is very short, but the synopsis is very confusing for this movie.
Yes, it's so super complicated.
It is so unnecessarily super complicated.
I love it. Well,
but,
Lisa, you get to run with that.
Okay. Deep breath. Whew. Set at the picturesque Lake Oconee, 75 miles east of Atlanta, the location oozes old world charm. The Palmetto Inn, however, can only accommodate one wedding per weekend, and through happenstance, 2 weddings get accidentally booked with no one, including Hotel Kirk Leslie, realizing it until both Margot, determined to throw the perfect wedding for her beloved sister Neve, and Jim, also set to give daughter Jenny, who he brought up alone after the death of his wife, a perfect wedding even if he finds it hard letting go and thinks that she is too young. Both show up at the front desk at the same time, but when it is discovered Margot's credit card was the only deposit, she gets preference. However, after a few hours, she takes pity on Jim and his clan, agreeing to share the space with the gorgeous boat dock on the lake, serving as the anchor for both weddings, which are timed to take place before sundown. I am so sorry, everyone. If you're not planning to watch the movie, I hope you kept up with that.
However, I think that Pete Hammond from Deadline, where that came from, did an actually coherent job of summarizing this. Because like other things I found, like it didn't do enough to explain like the chaos of this plot line.
Yeah, it's thorough. The movie tries to cover way too much ground and yet also no ground. Honestly, this summary captures that.
It does. I don't think what it misses and what makes the film so odd to watch is the obsession that Will Ferrell has with his daughter, which we're meant to believe is because he has no one else because her mother died. And then I don't know what the obsession, why Reese Witherspoon has such an obsession with her sister, vaguely explained, but that part of the story is a little bit, uncomfortable, I find at times.
I mean,
I think that's meant that plan that way. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. They don't go far enough into the ick of both of those familial situations to really get to, like, a funny comedy. They keep it a little too surface, a little too safe, and they're so busy trying to anchor both of those experiences in tangible drama of people experiencing grief and people experiencing alienation within their families. Like, I will say, I think I cried at least twice in this movie.
Of course you did.
And I laughed. I probably laughed like 5 times, actually. So that's not so bad. But it's not great when it's supposed to be a rom-com.
Which 2 parts did you cry at?
So I'll be clear about the fact that I watched this in the afternoon before I went to the hospital that night. So it's a bit blur. I definitely cried at the part where where Reese Witherspoon confronts her mother and her mother tells her that she does love her. She's always felt like she's not good enough either, and that sort of like having that moment together. And then when the daughter Jenny tells Will Ferrell how much she misses her mom. Like, those are both pieces that get at my autobiographical story a little bit, like, even if there's different roles involved and stuff like that. So like I'm an easy target for honestly the emotions of both of these families and like the complicated stuff around feeling isolated a little bit from family by like circumstance of just having sort of removed yourself from some of the like drama and therefore contributing to your own isolation as well as the actual like family dynamics of difficulty and like not fitting in with some of those people. So I'm a easy target for this film, which is probably why I gave it a little bit more credence.
I did not. I sort of found this I wouldn't say very funny. I found this funny throughout and didn't really feel moved by it at all, except for maybe like the part where Leslie, the hotel clerk, realizes that he's double booked a wedding. I like my vein. I just ran. Like I was just like, yeah, I nearly fainted at that point because I was like, can you imagine that happening? Like, and you're the person working there, and that like what? Yeah, I would not be like, it would just be so impossible. I wouldn't know what to do.
See, now for me, the reason this movie was fun, like there were lots of fun parts, is because this character that Will Ferrell has created, this very large, vulnerable man, is so good. And I just love that character. I wish we didn't feel like we had to mock him for it, but that's what they play with. Because I think the men he plays are such good, like the scenes where like he opens up that, that box to do her hair, like he has learned these things because he was the father of a daughter. Yeah. And he wanted to be there for her and not make her feel like she couldn't be who she was. And I love that. The Islands in the Stream, very funny to me. Like, the worst possible song. Yeah. And I have to say that the time I actually really, really laughed was sadly at the very end when he's talking to his daughter and they're both saying how they're going to be honest with each other. And she's like, I really think you should go for that girl because, you haven't dated. And he goes, oh, I had a really awful threesome with the widows. Yeah.
I laughed out loud at that too.
We all just cried, but we were banging, but then we were crying. Like that was, I don't know if that was ad-libbed because it feels like a Will Ferrell. It feels
like it, yeah.
But I was, like, he just is able to do that character, so well.
Well, there's a whole subplot that was cut because Fortune Feimster shows up in the briefest of scenes. Yeah. But she was writing on her Instagram when she was like promoting the film, which I thought was really nice of her, that like most of her part was cut. Oh. So there's a whole subplot of Will and Fortune having done stuff together, as far as I know. And I would love to see a version of the film that includes that because I think it would have made it funnier.
When you say done things together, what are you saying?
Well, like, how she is the one who sprays the dock and like sort of So there's a whole lead up to that, I believe.
Oh, they're like kind of plotting, you mean?
Yeah, plotting.
I thought maybe you meant they had a romance or something.
No. Oh, I think they have like a bunch of like theirs probably was the stronger comedy side subplot because we spend a lot of time with Reese and her family sort of plotting things.
But they've got that very famous, what's her name, that Southern comedian, because I follow her on Instagram. She's very funny.
Yeah. I mean, the whole, I like it. That's the thing. Like,
and the Joe Jonas part was very funny, too.
Yeah, that was funny. That's what I mean. Like, I was actually legitimately laughing at various parts of this movie. Yeah. And to me, it's just like, it's a comedy, which is why I was so mad at the end when they like tacked in a romance on it.
But like the part where it sort of pays off where they tack in the romance, which I honestly laughed so hard, is when we have the flashback of all of the times that Will Ferrell is looking at Reese Witherspoon moonily. And like we hadn't fully seen that, but like to watch his face look at someone with like sort of, again, a really sexless kind of affection.
Yeah, I know.
Like
it's just,
Like I think he could do sexy. I really do. This is not what they're giving him in this film.
Yeah, honestly, even in those dying moments of the film, I was still clinging on to hope that she would just go like, "Oh, that's nice," and walk away.
Don't you think though? Like, I mean, honestly, I just feel like there was, I don't know, maybe you need like a degree on a rom-com. Maybe there needs to be it's a lukewarm rom-com because I just felt like the two of them were looking at each other like, "Oh my gosh, I like you, and you're as weird as me." Like, I felt like that. I like that. I really like that feeling of two people going, holy cow, I've never met anyone as crazy as I am, and here you are. I like that.
I mean, I like that, but I think that's not really fully what they gave us. Like, they're asking us to do a lot of work to sort of invest in that.
Very, very, very true.
And I think, like, that's the weird thing is, like, we're basically being told because it's Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell and they're both funny that they're like the assumption is they're going to have a certain kind of chemistry. And like, they never really found the romantic spark part of that chemistry. Like even when they're fighting, like, and cause obviously like tension and angry fighting and like sort of all of that stuff can like be filled with like a chemistry and they just don't have that. So even when they sing the song, like even when they do their duet of Islands in the Stream at the end, it feels more competitive than complimentary because they're missing that piece of like I do not believe that Reese Witherspoon's character at any point looked at this man and said, yeah, I want to climb him.
Exactly. Yeah. 100% agree.
I don't know.
But I like the idea of weirdos getting together. You know, I love that.
That's what I was taking away. But you're right. A lot of that is me rewriting things for myself.
Yeah, but I get it. Like I want weirdos to get together too. I want them
Surprise!
to find each other.
Lisa's rewriting the end of a rom-com movie so that it has a happy ending where everybody's a perfect match for each other. We haven't heard this before.
I like it.
Spicy.
I like it. It's consistent, honestly, and it's a good way to go into a hiatus. Is just we're
Keep
gonna stay
your dreams
true to who we
alive,
are.
people. That's me.
But there's something really like optimistic and lovely about that, and I do think that like fundamentally, honestly, like that chat we had with Marissa about like the fundamentals of sort of what a rom-com audience is owed, and that covenant that she was talking about, really like that sort of really did broaden my thinking about, you know, what the experience of these movies is supposed to be. And so like I think it's personally sort of like given me a lot more generosity towards sort of those outcomes. Like, and so like, even though I don't buy it, I understand why it's there. And like, I just wish that all of the filmmakers had done a little bit more work to make that pairing feel like something we're rooting for. Not just like a case of like middle-aged settling. Cause like that's bleak a little bit, you know, like it's a bleakness that the rest of the film.
Well, it can be bleak
really
or because
I
mean, I read a lot of, magazine psychology when you're waiting in rooms and, there is a big, what's what I'm looking for? Like, not a movement, but like a therapist will tell you that if you're relying on butterflies to know that you like someone, that's actually wrong because it's giving you some sort of weird. It's actually part of trauma, is what that is. Whereas finding someone you're compatible with or that is good and all of those things is more important.
I mean, I agree with that.
It's not very rom-com. I get that.
No, I mean, I think it's important to have like, you know, for someone that you can feel comfortable with and authentic with and that meets you where you're at and like that you then also want to grow together. Like that's like the dream. I think that's really important. And it's not just going to be like fireworks, but I do think that there probably still at least needs to be some kind of like for conventional rom-com sort of like,
again, I'm rewriting this. So,
just having like just a small hint that like, I mean, that's the other part of this movie is that like we have like, you might be thinking, oh, Reese's character was raised by a single mother. No, that silent man attached to her mother the entire film was meant to be her father. Did he have a speaking part? No. So maybe she has grown up in the like, you know, this is exciting for her because this man that she is sort of like at odds with throughout the weekend, but also trying to like align with, has a personality. And her father, I'm sure a lovely lump of a man who just is there to like hold up her mother as she walks along, really never plays a single role in any of the conversations. It was fascinating to me. I was at one point, Carlos turned to me and was like, is that supposed to be her father? And they mentioned him as her father, and it was wild.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. Yeah.
I think we should also spend some time talking about the secondary plot line of this with Jenny and Oliver, Jenny's played by Geraldine Viswanathan, and I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah, she's
in this
great
movie, and like a real comedic discovery. Like she's hilarious in all of her scenes with Will Ferrell, like playing like when they're doing their sort of incestuous father or daughter gags. Yeah. Like very, very funny.
Also I really like the whole twisted part of their relationship, which is, oh, you know what, we fight and then he comes back to me and thinks that I'm gonna feel bad because I'm the only important person in his life, and then he comes over and she's, oh, I'm sorry, Dad. Like it was like it felt that's where I felt like it's kind of uncomfortable sometimes. And I know if you're saying that's what it was supposed to be, well, I didn't enjoy that.
Well, I wanted them to.
I mean, who would?
Who would?
No, I know, but
I wanted them to lean even harder on it, almost. You know, like I just like Like, really milk that whole thing for all it's worth. Like, give Oliver even more opportunities to be like, what am I doing here? Like, what is my role in this relationship? And like, what is happening? And I did also enjoy, like, I know they're making fun of like Gen Zers and stuff, but I also enjoyed how much the bridal party is like just on top of it. They are just like, they're making like physical barriers between her and her father. They're like, and they're funny about it too. And like,
and also, I like the part too that, again, I don't think it needed to be played too much for laughs, but I like the way Will Ferrell is deferring to them.
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not fighting. He's frustrated and things like that, which is normal. But he's also like, okay, this is their deal. And I love the scene where he keeps making her read the Dr. Seuss book. I did think.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Like, that was fair.
Another high point of comedy. But also, like, I love how it hinges on the fact that Gen Z, this like whole plot line hinges on the fact that Gen Z will not make a phone call to anybody. Like, they can plan anything and do anything, but if it, like, they need to make a phone call, it's not going to happen. And that's how these weddings get double booked. And like, you know, like, it seems like a ridiculous thing to write as a plot point, but when you see it, you're like, that makes sense. That can happen.
Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, I do want, and so we're going to talk about the bridal party a little bit. Kayla Monterosa Mejia as Heather, like, I know her from Abbott Elementary, and like, I really think she does a great job as well. Like, she's
and
so
I know
funny.
her from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Where, honest to gosh, that she made that season. She was so fantastic. It was, it's hard to I can't exaggerate it. She was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Just, I don't even think they could have pulled off the weird plot line that she was involved in if she hadn't been so great.
Amazing.
You know? Yeah. Like, if you haven't seen that season, it's well worth it.
I've never seen any season.
Of course. Really?
Yeah.
Well, wow. Okay. As much as I seem like the old-fashioned romantic in this podcast, Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of my top 5 favorite shows ever. And I know
I've never seen it either.
Oh, I know it's harsh and mean and awful, and I just can't get enough of it. I call it my comfort TV. If I'm like really in a bad mood, I put on an episode of that, and that and Lord of the Rings are my 2 comfort things.
Interesting.
Fascinating. I love it. I love it so much.
Now that Schitt's Creek has returned to, I think it's returned to Netflix.
Oh, it has. Okay, that's also my comfort TV. Yeah,
that's the thing I turn on.
Yeah.
I alternate for prime comfort stuff. I typically alternate between Superstore, Happy Endings, Gilmore Girls, and Parks and Rec. Those are my
Yeah, that's a good list.
And honestly, Community when it was available, and it's not available right now. So
yeah, I did Community during the pandemic. I agree. Yeah.
I don't know that I would go back to. I gotta say, because like I think. Again, I would just, well, you know what? Actually, what I would do is if they do release a version with Fortune in it, and like, I can't believe I'm asking for a longer film, because I will say at halfway through this movie, I had to pause to go to the washroom, and I could not believe that there was still 45 minutes left.
Oh my gosh, same.
Absolutely just ready to do cartwheels. I was like, what is happening? How is there still 45 minutes left in this movie? And so I can't believe I'm asking for a longer version, but I want to know, like, she was on set. They're not going to bring her on just to drive a boat by a dock. Like, I want to know what her story was and like what it added. Cause I think that sort of zany aspect that she can bring to it is missing.
There was also, I don't know if either of you noticed this, but there were like the time didn't make sense.
Oh God, the time had, could not.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's a few continuity things.
Yeah. Like when they were eating cake on the steps, I'm like, what time is it? Like,
and that cake must be like 4 days, 5 days old at this point. Like, it cannot be good.
And is it morning? Because have they stayed up all night? Like, because all of a sudden it was bright light out.
Yeah. I found the
we saw
different lighting things to be confusing.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure what time. That's not a big deal, but it kind of is.
It's a big deal.
anyway.
Like, and I mean, I know that they probably were working with what they had because they insisted so much of like the filming was outdoors. So like, I understand that, like, but I plan for that. You've made movies before. Like,
yeah, I know,
God,
right? Exactly.
You know, like, I don't understand. But did you, like, I wanted the alligator scene to be funnier.
I don't like animal scenes. They make me sad. It always happens to me. Like, you know that. I mean,
I know.
I'm surprised neither one of you texted to tell me the alligator was not okay. So I
Well, the alligator might have been okay. It went through a window.
Yeah.
It was open
You know,
window.
I thought the alligator was okay. That's why I didn't note it. I thought it just walked away.
it got thrown through a window on the second floor.
Alligators have been around since prehistoric times.
Well,
Like,
it doesn't
can
mean they
live
can
through
take
anything.
body trauma like that. I don't know what.
They can take a landing.
I feel like they can.
I did like funny scenes. Like there were good lines like that with the. But no one's explained how the alligator got up here. And yet, I don't know. I don't know.
Not to the second floor.
Yeah, I don't know. I love that. Just, I don't know.
They could have cut the scene when she gets bitten and they have to do the blood transfer. Like, they could have.
I didn't need the blood transfer.
Well, no, we had to have it so that the guy can like sort
Oh,
of
the husband, yeah.
prove he's more than a dancer for some reason. I will say, one of my main objections was if you're going to make this movie in 2025, or I don't know, make it in 2024, have it come out in 2025, the amount of times in which they use whore pejoratively is so out of step with the rest of the sort of like
Her forehair,
seeming,
like whatever that was.
Yeah,
like,
it was just ridiculous.
Wow.
And like,
yeah.
you got to find a new way to sort of think about people, and like that. We don't need that. It's unnecessary. I was displeased by that.
Yeah, because, I mean, it. Aside from all of that, it just, like, doesn't make sense. Like, when they're describing her hair, I was just like, what are they even trying to get at here?
Yeah. Well, it's an easy, cheap thing, and it doesn't mean I mean, not that it ever should have been like this, but like it's an element of like showing, you know, telling on yourself. The way that I think, I mean, almost every film that Nicholas Stoller does, he's telling on himself somewhere. So I'm not that surprised, but like I just, someone at some point could have said to him on set, hey,
What else has he done?
Here.
When you say that, what other films?
Nicholas Stoller?
Yeah.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall, The 5-Year Engagement, Get Him to the Greek, Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising. He also co-wrote the screenplays for Fun with Dick and Jane, Yes Man, The Muppets, Muppets Most Wanted, Sex Tape, and co-created the television series The Carmichael Show, Friends from College, and Platonic.
So, lots of stuff.
Tons of stuff. Yeah, he's
been around.
He's been around, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, wow. That's incredible. All right.
I know. So
and I've
much.
liked quite a bit of that, so I mean.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like but each of them has at least minimum one element that could have used someone just saying, "Hey, have you ever thought that like the people that you're making fun of with the use of this word are people?"
No.
He has not.
No.
He has
The
not.
answer to that question is no. Yes.
He is uninterested in a broader humanity.
Yes.
That's a great tagline for your bio.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'd let me write his bio.
Ooh, I bet not.
Nicholas Stoller is uninterested in a broader humanity.
Yeah.
Did you like even like look, I love listening to both of them sing. And normally I'm a sucker for like that kind of post-credits sequence or whatever. But again, it was another thing where I just like I wanted it to sort of cement the chemistry that we're promised in them falling for each other. And it just didn't for me. And I was bummed by that.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's like, you know, it's a great song and it's a great duet. And I liked hearing it, but it did not demonstrate. They have zero chemistry in singing that song.
You also, here's the other thing.
Like, you think of Dolly and Kenny?
Yeah. You can't force
Totally
hijinks,
different.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, so many great Will Ferrells, like at the end of, like anything in Anchorman, but at the end when they're doing the skyrockets, Afternoon Delight.
Yeah.
I mean, you're laughing so hard.
Yeah.
Your stomach hurts.
Yeah.
You can't force that.
No.
It has to happen.
Do you think that whoever had sort of do you think there were multiple people involved in the final edit and that we lost a few things because someone perhaps didn't have as much of a sense of humor as someone else?
Is this going to be another one of those it ends with us situations?
Yeah.
I hope not.
Who got the final cut? Who got the final word? May I add that I've watched it. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, and
you got to know what the fuss is. I watched it. I was like, I need to be
Still
knowledgeable.
hasn't watched episode 3 of Deadlock, but definitely watched It Ends With Us.
I want to be part of the conversation and the culture. Don't forget, this is Pop This.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We need to know.
I'm gonna stay out of it because I might read legal documents, but I'm not gonna watch that film.
Okay, it's not the worst film I've ever seen. I had a lot of fun watching it.
Of course it isn't.
You're having a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
You'll just watch it differently, and it's kind of fun that way.
No, I think this time around, one of my plans, I will finally treat myself to the final multiple seasons of Justified because I've been putting off that goodbye for a long time, and I need to get in there and make that happen. So that's where I'm headed.
Good plan.
Next we'll see if it works out. I also really want to watch all of Claws, so that's my other, because I watched one season on a plane and I've never been able to find it on TV again. It's not streaming anymore.
I've never heard of that.
Oh my God, it's so good. Niecy Nash, Carrie Preston. It's about a
nail salon, right?
Nail salon in the Florida, and it's incredible. It's really great. And I, again, only watched one season on a plane a million years ago, and it has at least 4 seasons, and they are I'm gonna buy them for streaming because I
understand.
that's where I'm at. It's my treat to myself. So we should, though, go back to You're Cordially Invited, even though I really don't feel like that was a good title for this film.
No.
Anyway, they've done some disservices to themselves on this picture.
Mm-hmm.
Does it pop?
I gotta say no. I mean, there were lots of things I really liked about it, but I can't imagine who I'd recommend it to.
Yeah, I am with you. There are a few things that are fun, but there's not enough. There's not, I like it, and again, I liked it better than some things I've seen. But actually, I did. You know what? I told my sister, I think you might enjoy this. Go for it.
Ooh.
So it's a half pop.
Okay.
Because she and I have some shared, obviously, reference points for this film. And it did make me laugh periodically. So it's a half pop for me.
Yeah, it's a half pop for me too, just as a comedy. As a rom-com, I don't like it.
Yeah. I'll just say that, there's a lot of I'd like to see part 2 where they're sitting in therapy together, trying to figure out how they got together.
Just the whole time.
Yeah, just the whole movie.
Oh,
yeah.
God, what an incredible idea. I don't want to see that. But I want to see the longer cut with Fortune. So
yeah.
Give us the
I will say
Fortune
that
release. We like to end our episodes on things we recommend. And I'm just going to take it upon myself to go first because I can't say that this is actually a recommendation, but it's what I've been doing this past week. And it's been enough of a diversion that it's kind of working for me. And yet I mostly just want people to discuss it with. So I finally watched Dr. Odyssey, and I want it to be so much trashier than it is. It's just not trashy enough. I don't know why they won't give into the trash. And I'm fully caught up. So now I guess I'm a week-to-week person.
I can talk about it with you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I recommended it originally.
Yeah, you did. Yes.
I remember you recommending it, and I had noted it.
And I said it was trash.
Yeah, but I want more trash. I want it even trashier. Because I think it also gets caught up in the idea of that there has to be a little bit more of like, I think you can do emotion and sentiment and good storytelling without it sort of defaulting to safety. And like, I think that I just want it to go in harder. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to have to start watching like a Desperate Housewives or something? Like I do a rewatch of that because I only watched one season originally. Like that to me is the kind of trash that I might be up for. But there's a new show coming out called Grosse Pointe Garden Society that apparently combines like murder and terrible people in a garden, which that might work for me.
Yeah, that might sounds work for me.
Good. Anyway, I give a mild recommendation to Dr. Odyssey, and I'm in it enough that I'm going to watch it. And Philippa Sue is amazing.
And I think that if you're familiar with cruise culture at all, like I think it's extra, trashy and hilarious.
Yeah, probably. And honestly, the Shania Twain episode, she did a great job.
Yeah, totally. I love all the guest stars.
Yeah, guest stars have been amazing. So I do like that too. Anyway, all right, over to Lisa.
So last night I watched Conclave.
Oh,
and it was not what I was expecting. Mm-hmm. I was expecting something very dry and kind of boring, maybe. Mm-hmm. I wasn't expecting it to be, and this will seem odd, but you'll know if you watch it. I wasn't expecting it to be like Mean Girls.
That is the first comparison I've heard that makes me want to watch it.
Yeah.
The story is, of course, that the Pope has died and all the cardinals or whatever they're called, they all have to meet, the archbishops, whatever, I can't remember their title. They all have to meet and vote for a new Pope, they with the smoke and everything, right? But then, we obviously, to get that big job, there's lots of jockeying, and that's where things get very interesting. It just has wild turns that I wasn't expecting, and just kind of a bitchiness that I enjoyed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is the first review of it that I've heard that makes me want to watch it. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely worth watching. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
AG?
I'm going to go with a recommendation for a cozy murder because, like, if you need something easy to watch right now, it's called Miss Scarlet. It's on Prime. It's about this woman. It's a British American period television crime drama starring Kate Phillips, and it's about this woman whose father is a detective and dies in the first episode, and so she decides to take over his detective agency. And so it's about like her being a woman in Victorian England and trying to be a a detective.
Cool.
And solving murder cases.
Awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, filing both of these things away for my future watching habits.
Yes.
So thank you everyone for listening. You can hang out with us on our various social media platforms. We are going to go on, we don't know how long we're going to be gone for, but we're going to go for a while, and then we will let you all know when we get back. And thank you so much for listening and just being part of our lives.
Yeah, and we have, over 400 episodes you could dip into.
Yeah, if you started later in our run, well, I mean, you're going to want to really you're going to want to especially dig into the last 200 where AG's been on mic all the time. Before we would just reference her all the time. And
but you had some epic clashes.
We did.
In the first 200.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So enjoy those epic clashes if you go back and listen. And then, we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. And I will, we see each other every week. This is going to be really hard. So I'm not asking you to console me. I'm just pointing out a fact. But I know our texting will increase tremendously. And I know I will send you more memes than is humanly possible on Instagram. So
yes, we'll still be talking about all the things we're watching.
Yes, we will. We will.
My God, we just want to have microphones in our faces? How will we even recognize each other?
We supped once and twice, and I think we got over the hurdle rather quickly.
Yeah. Okay, fine. We can do it.
Yes, we can. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
See you soon. Bye.